Excuse me? Excuse me? Is that a little... Oh, it wasn't dirty. That's just how it is. Hello, welcome if you're watching the playback. I'm waiting for people to join. Okay. No, I don't like that. Having a weird hair day. I know a lot of you don't care about that, but I am. See if anyone joins on Saturday. Hi. Thank you for joining. Welcome. This should be an interesting topic tonight. Ooh, yes. Okay. I'm just talking to myself right now, but in a second I'll talk to you. Wait. Here we go. Hello. Thank you for joining. I usually give it a few minutes to let people pop in. Cool, we already have a bunch of people. I am drinking on Saturdays. If I do a live stream, I have a drink. And yes, I do have a red Solo cup. There is white sangria in my cup. Usually I drink beer, but I needed to switch it up. Hi, Sarah. Do you ever go live on TikTok? Every time I say my name, my Siri pops up.
I don't have an answer for that. Is there something else I can help with?
That's what Siri said. Do I ever go live on TikTok? I have once before. I think I will probably really soon because I have I had an uptick in followers on TikTok, but I've only done it once, but it's something that I would actually like to do a lot more. Are you going to join the Texas Army? Probably not, because everything scares me. I'm scared of the dark. So I don't think I should be doing any sort of battle or protecting anything. I have a lot of ideas, but as far as actually protecting things or people or land, I don't think I'm the man for the job. Just saying. Oh, I wanted to try my sangria. I haven't tried it yet. I follow you on TikTok. Love your content. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here as well. I really appreciate that. I love TikTok. I know that it can be very toxic and there's so much cringe on TikTok, but I follow a lot of really cool creators. It's a really great way to get your ideas out there, and some people are very creative. It's a good idea if you have a business or anything you need to promote. And some of the content I see is rather... Sarah, border sniper, Sansoni. I actually heard a really good joke. Wait, hold on. I want to try my sangria. Oh, good. Glenn got the message that I was on. That's good news because some people don't always get the notifications. And I don't see... Well, I do live Monday through Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern here. And when I go live nights, I just kind of wing it. So whoever joins. But thank you everyone for being here. This should actually be a really interesting topic, and I'm excited to have this conversation. Okay, let me try my sangria first. Yes, I know it's in a red Solo cup. I was cooking out, although we were cooking out in the rain, so we were on the porch because it rained all day, but I had hot dogs and french fries, and now I'm drinking sangria. Ooh, it's tasty. He's doing a rally in Alaska. Oh, Trump is. Yes. 4th of July leftovers. No, but we actually, this is sort of like making up for the 4th of July. Because on the 4th of July, we cooked out chicken, which it was really good. But usually you do hot dogs. So this is kind of like making up for that because we didn't do hot dogs on 4th of July. We cooked chicken, or cooked out grilled chicken. Grilled out chicken, not like grilled chicken. Well, I guess it is grilled. Stop. Okay. Um, the people overthrew the Sri Lanka. Yeah. Okay. So I figured this would be a really cool topic. We can go into, let's start with what just happened in Sri Lanka today. And then I'm going to sort of take you on how this is kind of a trend that's happening all over the world. So if you go on Twitter or anywhere, you'll see videos being shared, these like incredible videos of mass amounts of people, and they overthrew, was it the hold on, I have it right here. They overthrew the presidential palace. And I think the president is going to have to resign, or he had to leave. And you're seeing this all over. We're gonna read more into it. But I saw these images today, and I'm like, gosh, it like the Freedom Convoy. Well, first it started out with was it the Yellow Jackets? Do you guys remember that? Yellow Vests, that's what it was. I'm thinking Yellow Jackets. Those, they protest and then they sting you. So it started out, I remember, do you guys remember back in the day, it was a few years ago, you had the yellow vests in Europe. Italy was one of the countries. France, I believe, was another one of the countries. Then you have like the Freedom Convoy in Canada. You have the Dutch farmers. You have all of these big uprisings. And the one thing that's the same with all of them are they are middle class people being tired of some of these, and I'm going to get into what this means, some of these like elitist policies or these luxury beliefs. And so we'll talk about it in a second, but let's look at what happened with Sri Lanka today. But yeah, you're seeing this all over the world really happening. And the Dutch farmers, by the way, I didn't even know this, that had been happening since 2019. I never heard about that, did you? And I'm always up to date with the news. But that's been happening for several years now. And we're going to talk about all this because I'm really excited about this topic. But first, let's just look at what happened in Sri Lanka. So it says, this is specifically to Sri Lanka. Thousands of protesters swarmed the Sri Lankan president's home in Colombo. Am I saying that? Colombo? And we're seeing cavorting in its swimming pool as anarchy engulfed the bankrupt South Asian island, and the leader said he would step down. That is bananas. Surreal scenes captured on cell phone video showed citizens watching television, eating, and roaming the halls of the palace as the presidency of, okay, I cannot pronounce this name. But I'm not even going to try it, but he's the president of Sri Lanka. Know that. Teetered on the edge of collapse. Millions have been unable to buy food, medicine, and fuel for months amid a devastating financial crisis that has pitted parliament against the presidency and reopened old wounds between majority Buddhist and minority Tamils. I don't know how to pronounce that either. Interesting. Okay. Gotta go home. The mob was heard chanting, using a popular nickname for the reviled leader. Outside the sprawling residence, barricades were knocked down and a black banner was raised on a flagpole. Now, protesters stormed the presidential palace in Sri Lanka. That was today. I came here today to send the president home, a protester said. Now the president must resign. If he wants peace to prevail, he must step down. The president, whose family has ruled the nation of 22 million for much of the last 2 decades, said Saturday he will step down on July 13th. His brother already resigned as prime minister in May after violent protests, and 3 members of the family were among 26 cabinet members who resigned en masse in April. Public anger has been directed at the family over claims of mismanagement and corruption. Sound familiar? The prime minister, who took over in May, has also been called upon to exit, even as he is scrambling to save the country's economy through negotiations with the International Monetary Fund. In April, the nation said it would suspend repayment of foreign loans, which amounts to $51 billion. We are now participating in the negotiations as a bankrupt country. Therefore, we have to face a more difficult and complicated situation. The economic crisis has ripped open old wounds in the nation, located off the southern tip of India and the Indian Ocean. Although a nearly 30-year civil war between the majority Buddhists and the Tamil Tigers, the insurgent group that fought on behalf of the minority, ended more than a decade ago, the division has reemerged. It's no secret that the majority who voted for me were the Ceylonese. They rallied because they had legitimate fears about race and our religion, natural resources, and the heritage would be threatened with destruction in the face of various local and foreign forces and ideologies that support separatism, extremism, and terrorism. With the financial crisis undermining his popularity among his base and parliament demanding his oust, the president's days are over. Okay, so here you have a financial crisis, people that can't afford to fuel, they can't afford to buy food or any of these things, and they have, they basically successfully overthrew their government. And that is the one thing, that is the one thread that holds a lot of these uprisings together. Are there people that are either being put out of work or they can't afford the things that they used to afford? And that's becoming, and that's because of something that I have it right now. So a man named Rob Henderson, I actually watched, there's a really good YouTube channel called Trigonometry. Hi, Lance. And Rob Henderson was on there recently. I watched the whole episode and it was really good. And he sort of coined a term called luxury beliefs. And I want to get into a little bit of an essay he wrote about this. And this to me is what a lot of far leftists, those sort of ideas that they believe in, ideas like defund the police, which actually hurts the very group of people that they say they want to help, or open borders, which actually hurts the very group of people that they want to help. And that's what he says. He says these luxury beliefs are usually upper middle class, college educated individuals who actually hurt the very people that they say they want to help with these beliefs. And these are beliefs that are only typically held by upper middle class, college educated people. He's a really interesting guy. Really great YouTube channel too, Trigonometry. Trigglypuff. Do you follow conservative YouTubers like Paul Joseph Watson? I do follow Paul Joseph Watson. If you don't follow Paul Joseph Watson, he has awesome videos. They will depress you. But he has really good videos. Yeah, it's cool. Like, people are standing up. But it stems from what I think are these luxury beliefs and this elitism, this globalism. And this is the man who coined the term luxury beliefs. He says, a former classmate from Yale recently told me monogamy is kind of outdated and not good for society. So I asked her what her background is and if she planned to marry. She said she comes from an affluent family and works at a well-known technology company. Yes, she personally intends to have a monogamous marriage, but quickly added that marriage shouldn't have to be for everyone. She was raised by a traditional family. She planned on having a traditional family, but she maintained that traditional families are old-fashioned and society should evolve past them. What could explain this? In the past, upper-class Americans used to display their social status with luxury goods. Today, they do it with luxury beliefs. People care a lot about social status. In fact, research indicates that respect and admiration from our peers are even more important than money for our sense of well-being. People care a lot about oops, I just read that. We feel pressure to display our status in new ways. This is why fashionable clothing always changes. But as trendy clothes and other products become more accessible and affordable, there is increasingly less status attached to luxury goods. And this is true. Like back in the day, you could really tell if someone was extremely wealthy or not just by the clothes that they wear. And that's less and less and less true. And what he pointed out, now that, trendy clothes are more affordable, also sometimes, especially if you live in LA, it's actually it's actually in style to dress down. So wherever you go in LA, like people are wearing leggings and workout clothes. It's more acceptable now to dress down. So those two things really, it's a lot more difficult to tell someone's economic status by what they're wearing. And that's the argument he's making, is he's saying, but people still need to show their status, so now they're just doing it in different ways with these luxury beliefs. One example of luxury belief is that all family structures are equal. This is not true. Evidence is clear that families with two married parents are the most beneficial for young children. And yet, affluent, educated people raised by two married parents are more likely than others to believe monogamy is outdated, marriage is a sham, or that all families are the same. Relaxed attitudes about marriage trickle down to the working class and to the poor. And in the 1960s, married rates between upper middle class and lower class Americans were nearly identical. But during this time, affluent Americans loosened social norms expressing skepticism about marriage and monogamy. This luxury belief contributed to the erosion of the family. Today, the marriage rates of affluent Americans are nearly the same as they were in the 1960s. But working class people are far less likely to get married. Furthermore, out of wedlock birth rates are more than 10 times higher than they were in 1960, mostly among poor and working class. Affluent people seldom have kids out of wedlock, but are more likely than others to express the luxury belief that doing so is of no consequence. Also, the welfare state. I will say that. The welfare state, I do think the welfare state is an incentive for people not to get married. So I think it's half of these ideas, and also the welfare state contributes to that as well. Because now you have actual monetary incentive by the government not to get married. Another luxury belief is that religion is irrational or harmful. Members of the upper class are most likely to be Members of the upper class are most likely to be atheists or non-religious, but they have the resources and access to thrive without the unifying edifice of religion. Places of worship are often essential for the social fabric of poor communities, degenerating the importance of religion harms the poor, while affluent people often find meaning in their work. Most Americans do not have the luxury of a profession. They have jobs. They clock in, they clock out, without a family or a community to care for. Such a job can feel meaningless. Then there's the luxury belief that individual decisions don't matter much compared to random social forces, including luck. This belief is more common among many of my peers at Yale and Cambridge than the kids I grew up with in foster care or women and men I served with in the military. The key message is that the outcomes in your life are beyond your control. This idea works with the benefit of the upper class and harms ordinary people. By the way, the person who wrote this, he's a very unique individual because he grew up in foster care and was in the military, but then educated himself and went to Ivy League University. And he noticed that, I think that's why he's able to see this, because he's been on both sides of the coin. Are you talking to me? If you are talking to me, the YouTube channel, I don't know if you're talking to each other. or if you're talking to me. But if you are talking to me, the YouTube channel that I referenced that this individual is being interviewed on is called Trigonometry. I like that name. Okay, trigonometry. 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 Do you have any faith in Fox News, Hannity, Bongino, and Tucker? Who do you watch? My favorite is Tucker. I always watch Tucker. Tucker's always been my favorite, even if he wasn't on Fox News. I don't watch Hannity so much anymore. Don't really watch anyone else on Fox News religiously, but I do watch Tucker religiously. Hannity I'll watch if I pick him up. But I think Tucker is just awesome, which doesn't mean I believe with, it doesn't mean I always believe, I'm always like agreeing with everything that he says or every take that he has, but I do think that he's honest, and he talks about things I think that a lot of people won't talk about. It's trigonometry. So like trigger, like I'm triggered. Hold on, let me see how it's spelled. So it's Triggernometry. So trigonometry. Like I'm triggered. Because they trigger people with their conversations. It's common sense to see students at prestigious universities work incessantly and then downplay the importance of tenacity. They perform an aw shucks routine to suggest they just got lucky rather than accept credit for their efforts. This message is damaging. If disadvantaged people believe random chance is the key factor to success, they will be less likely to strive. White privilege is the luxury belief that took me the longest to understand because I grew up around poor whites. Often the members of the upper class claim that racial disparities stem from inherent advantages held by white. Yet Asian Americans are more educated, have higher earnings, and live longer than whites. Affluent whites are the most enthusiastic about the idea of white privilege. Yet they are the least likely to incur any cost for promoting their belief. Rather, they raise their social standing by talking about their privilege. Important point. In other words, upper-class whites gain status by talking about their high status. When laws are enacted to combat white privilege, it won't be the privileged whites who are harmed. Poor whites will bear the brunt. It's possible that affluent whites don't always agree with their own luxury beliefs, or at least have doubts. Maybe they don't like the ideological fur coat they're wearing, but if their peers punish them for not sporting it all over town, they will never leave the house without it again. Because, like with diamond rings or designer clothes of old, upper-class people don a luxury belief to separate themselves from the lower class. These beliefs, in turn, produce real, tangible consequences for disadvantaged people, further widening the divide. Just as fashionable clothing will soon be outdated, so will today's fashionable beliefs. In the future, expect the upper class to defame even more values, including ones they hold dear, in their quest to gain top dog status. So that is basically what a luxury belief is. Interesting, huh? And that's why you see so much virtue signaling online, right? Like, I have to post my black square on Instagram. I have to stand in solidarity with this movement. What's that meme? I can't remember exactly what the meme says, but it's like, I'm here for the current thing. Whatever the current cool thing is, they have to make it no, oh, I support the current thing. That's what it is. So whatever the new current thing is, they have to support it to show their social status to you. The virtue signaling. Or I have to talk about white privilege to show you that I'm educated and progressive. By the way, I studied eugenics a little bit, and people, the eugenics movement in the U.S. and the U.S. and the U.S. and the U.S. and the people that were into eugenics or practice eugenics thought of themselves as progressives. Just thought I should say that. I'm not making any connections, but I'm just saying they thought of themselves as progressives. I wanted to go through that before I read this article because they referenced luxury beliefs. And this is sort of a really cool opinion. Eugenics, founder of abortion movement. Yeah. Hello, it has been a while. I remember you. Al Fontana. Am I saying your name correctly? I hope I said it correctly. Okay, so this is a cool piece that kind of wraps it all together, all of these uprisings that are happening. But they reference Sky News got banned on YouTube? You thought eugenics was the study of Eugenes? Well, okay, some of you heard this story about a bazillion time, but those who didn't hear it, I'm going to tell you again. So I actually went to school in Virginia, and one of my very first professional jobs out of school was in Virginia, and I worked at a place that was called, you can look all of this stuff up, it's all online. I worked for a place called the Commonwealth Center for Children and Adolescents. And what it was is it was a state-run acute care psychiatric I can't talk tonight. Psychiatric yep, acute care psychiatric hospital for children and adolescents. And it was state-run. Well, it used to have a different name, and it was actually in a different building. The name of the hospital was the DeJarnett Center. And by the way, the original the original building is still it's in Stanton, Virginia. It's still there. It's abandoned, and it's very creepy looking. It's filled with asbestos. But Dr. DeJarnett, who owned the hospital, or who was the head of the hospital, he was a practitioner of eugenics, and the kids that would come into the hospital, he would sterilize them. He also has a very disturbing quote. It's on his Wikipedia page, I believe. And he actually said, because, Hitler was inspired by eugenics that were happening in America. And he said, Hitler is beating us at our own game. He's far more progressive. Creepy, right? So you can imagine why the Commonwealth Center, formerly known as the DeJarnett Center, changed its name. But that's what, so eugenics had a few different forms, the way people would practice it. A lot of people would practice it on the mentally ill. They saw them as mentally unfit, so they wanted to sterilize them. Creepy history. And apparently eugenics was practiced up until, in that form, was practiced, maybe not in that exact form, but it was practiced up until the 1970s. Is it a tune voice filter or your real voice? Think about what you just asked. All right, so this is a piece that sort of puts it all together. So it says, a popular uprising of working class people against the elites and their values is underway, and it's crossing the globe. There is a growing resistance by the middle and lower classes against what Rob Henderson has coined the luxury beliefs. of the elites, as everyday folks realize the harm it causes them and their communities. There were early glimmerings last February when the Canadian trucker convoy pitched working-class truck drivers against a laptop class, demanding ever more restrictive Rona policies. You saw it well in the victory of Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, who ran on parents' rights and education and went on to win both suburbs and rural areas. You see it in the growing support of Hispanic voters for a Republican Party, which increasingly identifies as anti-woke and pro-working class. And now we're seeing it with the latest iteration in the Netherlands in the form of a farmers' protest against new environmental rulings that will ruin them. Super cool. Over 30,000 Dutch farmers have risen in protest against the government in the wake of new nitrogen limits that require farmers to radically curb their nitrogen emissions by up to 70% in the next 8 years. That's a lot. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I try to involve myself in the chat and then I just don't know, so I can't. It would require farmers to use less fertilizer and even reduce the number of their livestock, while large farming companies have the means to hypothetically meet these goals and can switch to non-nitrogen based fertilizer. It is impossible for smaller, often family-owned farms. The new environmental regulations are so extreme, they would force many to shudder, including peoples whose families have been farming for 3 or 4 generations. In protest, farmers have been blockading streets and refusing to deliver their products to supermarket chains. It's been leading to serious shortages of eggs and milk, among other items. This is what is so crazy to me, and what a lot of just like regular kind of normie Democrats don't understand is a lot of these policies they push. That's why he's referencing luxury beliefs, because a lot of these policies that they push, they hurt small businesses, they hurt independent farmers, and they actually help big corp and big corporations and large box stores. Look at what the shutdown did. That hurt the small businesses, but it helped places like Amazon and Walmart and CVS and Target and all of those big chain stores and all of those big grocery stores. Even ideas like, this is what a lot of Democrats don't understand when you talk about, something that's very popular among them is raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Okay, yeah, Amazon can afford that. Walmart can afford that. Target can afford that. The people that it's really going to hurt and the people that can't afford that are the small mom and pop businesses who now have to pay their employees a lot more or get rid of employees. And, people think of small business owners as just, wealthy, they own a business, but a lot of them are barely making profit. Same thing with defund the police. You defund the police and, it's the big stores that can afford to hire security to take care of their stores, but it's the smaller mom and pop places that can't afford to do that. Okay, so we're still talking about the Netherlands. He says, but the effects will be global. The Netherlands is the world's I didn't know this. The Netherlands is the world's second largest agricultural exporter after the United States, making the country of barely 17 million inhabitants in a food superpower. Given global food shortages and rising prices, the role of Dutch farmers in the global food chain has never been more important. But if you thought the Dutch government was going to take that into account and ensure that people can put food on the table, you would be wrong. When offered the choice between food security and acting against climate change, the Dutch government decided to pursue the latter. What is particularly frustrating is that the government is fully aware that what it is asking farmers to do will drive many of them out of existence. In fact, the government originally planned to move at a slower pace until a lawsuit brought by environmental groups in 2019 forced an acceleration of the timetable. That is the thing that's so frustrating. We're talking about the Dutch farmers, by the way. That is what's so frustrating. They know these things will put people out of business. Just like in our country, Joe Biden knows that with the high gas prices that people are going to suffer. They don't care. Their agenda is far more important than the people that they serve. And, just like here in the U.S. with Joe Biden getting on television all the time saying, I'm doing everything I can to fight climate change. He canceled leases in Utah, in Alaska, in the Gulf of Mexico. He canceled a refinery expansion in the Virgin Islands, also Alaska too. All of these things that he's doing to stop this. And it's not a secret. He said he was going to do that. He said when he ran, he wanted to ban fracking. And he said he was going to do these things. And he even said himself, it will be, it's going to hurt for a little while, but this is what we're doing to meet our goals. I wonder how many, lower middle class Democrats voted for Joe Biden, and they voted for this. They knew, if you were paying attention, you know what his plans were. He didn't hide it in his campaign. The one time he did actually campaign. He didn't really campaign. The one time he didn't campaign. This is what blows my mind. People are like, why can't he put sentences together? Because you voted in a man that hid in the basement while he should have been campaigning. He just came out 2 times. One time he said Trump is bad. The other time he said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And then he went back to the basement and didn't even campaign or anything. So what do you think you get? The reaction by members of the agricultural sector has been massive and ongoing since 2019, but the onset of the pandemic allowed the government Prime Minister Mark Rutte to ban protests in 2020 and 2021. With the reignited demonstrations this year, the authorities have also switched to a more aggressive approach. There have been arrests and even warning shots fired by police at farmers, one almost killing a 16-year-old protester. Yet the sympathies of the Dutch are not with their government. They're solidly with their farmers. Absolutely. Current polls indicate that the Farmers' Political Party, formed just 3 years ago in response to the new regulations, would gain a whopping 11 seats in Parliament if elections were held today. They currently only hold 1 seat. If elections were held today, they would hold 11 seats. Moreover, the Dutch Fishermen Union has publicly joined the protests, blocking harbors with fishing crews, holding signs that read, "Unity creates strength." But while the Dutch people are on the side of the farmers, their elites are behaving much as they did in Canada and in the US. And not just those in government. Interesting. Media outlets are refusing to even report the protests. When they do, they cast the farmers as extremists. Does that sound familiar? What did they do in Canada? They called the truckers extremists. Justin Trudeau called the truckers extremists. What do they do in the U.S. anytime someone doesn't agree with them? They're extremists. They're right-wing extremists. They're Trumpers. Dutch chocolate is at stake. That's the real crime. And now it gets interesting. Just kidding. It was already interesting. So it goes on to say why the disconnect. Every reliable poll of European newsrooms from Germany to the Netherlands show that climate change is a much more important topic for journalists than it is for ordinary people. It's not that average citizens don't care about climate change, but that they have the common sense to know that destroying their farm so that the government's emission goals can be met in 2030 instead of 2035 will not change the planet's climate. After all, the Netherlands accounts for just 0.46% of the world's CO2 emissions. And while the further reduction might be desirable, it will not be divisive in combating climate change over the next 8 years. It may make the country's elite feel good about themselves, but it will also result in large parts of the population seeing their living standards decline and their economic existence targeted by the state for ideological reasons. There is a malaise in the West currently where ideological goals. I love this article. It's like this with everything right now. There is a malaise in the West currently where ideological goals are pursued at the expense of the lower, middle, and working classes. Whether it's truckers in Canada, farmers in the Netherlands, oil and gas companies in the United States, ideology, not science or hard evidence, is dominating the agenda, gratifying the elites while eviscerating the working class. It's very true. Ultimately, there is a risk that climate policies will do to Europe what Marxism did to Latin America. A continent with all the conditions for widespread prosperity and a healthy environment will impoverish and ruin itself for ideological reasons. In the end, both the people and the climate will be worse off. That was a really good piece. This was in Newsweek, by the way. Cool. It's true. What was that last line? In the end. So if all of these policies move forward, if the elites, if you will, if they get what they want, he's saying, and it's true, if they get what they want, if all of these policies go through the way that they intend, in the end, both the people and the climate will be worse off. Actually, an example of this is the Keystone XL pipeline. So because that got, that wasn't a weak opinion piece. That was a very strong, a very good opinion piece. Ralph Schollenhammer, assistant professor in economics and political science at Webster University in Vienna. That was a great piece. Once in a while, Newsweek, it has some good stuff. Once in a while. That was a great piece. Congratulations, Newsweek. Bravo. I forgot what I was going to say. I don't know, you guys. It's even like that, you know, we've talked about like George Gascon and a lot of these like the Soros-backed DAs. It's even like that with them. Like they are so insistent on their ideology. They push their ideology even though it hurts the very people that they say they want to help, you know? Newsweek is an appropriate name for them. Hello? Oh, Newsweek is a part of the Me Turd movement. Actually, I just read something about Amber Heard. Amber Heard's insurance company on Friday filed suit against the Aquaman actress, contending that it does not have to pay any money after Heard's unsuccessful defense in a defamation suit involving her ex-husband, Johnny Depp. So I think that, hold on. The jury's factual findings established that Heard's liability is caused by willful acts. New York Marine and General Insurance said in a suit filed in federal court. New York Marine says that it's not liable for costs associated with an independently appointed defense counsel for the actress. An actual controversy has arisen and now exists between plaintiff, on one hand, Heard, and on the other hand, with regard to the duties, obligations owed between plaintiff and Heard under the policy with respect to indemnity. So I think she was thinking or that her insurance company was going to pay for her attorneys. Heard and her legal team have made it clear that the actress does not intend to pay debt. This woman just walks trouble. She's always in trouble. So they're saying they're not going to pay for her legal fees because it's clear that she acted willfully, which is what the verdict in the defamation case said. I can fix her. I don't know, man. Soros funds Me Too. Heard will be bailed out. The billionaire friends. Does he really fund Me Too? I wouldn't be surprised. It's all a scam. Nah, big jokes. Daws are crazy people. I mean, that's just... Musk will bail Turd out. During the Kavanaugh hearings, I believe he did. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, you gotta stay away from crazy. Don't underestimate how one crazy person can ruin your life. I've been watching a lot of true crime, you guys, and stay away from crazy. I've been watching this show on, what? I don't know what channel. Is it Lifetime? It's called I Survived. And it's about people just surviving real life. Like, there was like a mountain lion attack, a bear attack. One person was on a boat that sunk and was out in the water for 4 days. Just all kinds of stuff. People that got kidnapped in terrorist attack, like all kinds of things that people survived. Crazy stories. I think Musk is done with Amber and Twitter. Yeah, I know. I think he's done with Twitter. We'll see what happens with that. But apparently they were not forthcoming about their bots. Oh, here's a story actually about Twitter. This just came out. 3 magic words loom over Elon Musk's bid to scuttle his $44 billion buyout of Twitter. Musk moved to back out of the deal Friday, claiming the San Francisco-based social media giant refused to turn over key data on the number of fake accounts that make up the active daily user totals. The reason this is such a big deal is because that's how Twitter monetizes. They monetize by having advertisers. And if a lot of the users are fake bot accounts, then the company's not worth as much as it should be worth, right? Because those aren't real users. Those aren't eyeballs that are going to look at those ads. They need eyeballs and they need active users to look at these ads. Otherwise, the company isn't worth that much. So that's why the number of bots is such a big deal, or the number of fake accounts is such a big deal. And they were not forthcoming about this. And I believe that Elon suspects that there's a lot more fake accounts. But they didn't provide information that him and his attorneys had been requesting. material adverse effect was cited by the Tesla's chief attorneys and Securities and Exchange Commission filing Friday. Invoking the phrase means Musk believes Twitter did not act in good faith during a due diligence period, and their actions negatively affected his ability to fairly gauge his own position. Whether Twitter's alleged deception occurred or was enough to warrant an ending to the deal will be decided in court. And I think they probably will be going to court over this, because Twitter has already said that they intend to sue because the deal isn't going through. I don't think Elon is going to buy Twitter. Twitter is a money loser. It's not going to spend his fortune on money loser. Yeah, and I liked his idea about Twitter. I do think it could turn into a really cool kind of like a public square, because we don't really have that anymore. But if it's not worth anything, if it's a big money loser, like what you just said, then he's not going to purchase it, especially if they're not forthcoming with the truth. I think that they're making it look a lot cooler and a lot bigger than what it actually is. A part of my hopes that he did this just to expose them. Well, he definitely did expose them. It makes me sad, though, because I really did want that deal to go through. I thought it could have been really cool. Okay, I have kind of a funny, a funny story for you about Hunter Biden. This actually was in the Daily Wire today, and how were these released? Okay, so President Joe Biden may have a close-to-home diplomatic challenge on his hands after newly unearthed text messages show his son reportedly referring to the First Lady Jill Biden as a vindictive moron and much, much worse. Oh, why? I know too much about this person. The text obtained by the son showed the troubled, now 52-year-old degenerate lashing out at his stepmother after a family feud in late 2018. In one missive, I think they meant to say message. I think that's a typo. It says in one missive. I think it's supposed to say message. In one message he sent to his brother's widow, he was bizarrely dating at the time. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, in one message he sent to his brother's widow, who he was bizarrely dating at the time. Yeah, he was, like, very friendly with his brother's widow after his brother passed. Hunter Biden called Jill Biden a selfish, silly, entitled C-word. In another text to his uncle, James Biden, Hunter Biden recounted a spat with the future First Lady in which he struck a barrage of low blows. This is the text. And you do know the drunkest I've ever been is still smarter than you could ever even comprehend when your shut grammar teacher that wouldn't survive one class in an Ivy graduate program. So go F yourself, Jill. Let's all agree I don't like you any more than you like me. Wow. The bad blood was apparently sparked by Joe Biden's insistence that Hunter Biden get help for his well-chronicled drug addiction. Yeah, as he should. The Sun said the text messages were found on the laptop Hunter Biden left at a Delaware computer repair shop, which was yielded endless photos of the Yale law grad smoking crack, cavorting nude with prostitutes, and hatching what appear to be international schemes to trade his father's influence. The Sun said the messages were uncovered by Marco Polo, an organization led by a former White House staffer, which is probing the laptop. I don't even want to know what else is on the laptop. Hunter is only a taker only. Before the post-Christmas row with Jill Biden, Hunter Biden had been trying to defeat his demons with the help of Massachusetts shrink Dr. Keith Abloh, but it had not worked, and Jill Biden and Haley Biden, the widow of Beau Biden, were trying to get Joe Biden to agree his son needed inpatient rehab. I mean, I don't side with Jill Biden much on anything, but at least I would side with her on that. He did need help. In a December 29, 2018 text message exchange with his uncle, Hunter Biden said that he had proposed moving near him and teaching, an idea that prompted an eye roll from his stepmother. Well, you're not going to be doing anything at all for yourself or your family if you just refuse to get sober, she said, according to a Hunter Biden text. Would you not agree with that? Of course. Well, you're not going to be doing anything at all for yourself or for your family if you just refuse to get sober. That's actually true. That stoked Hunter Biden's fury at Jill Biden, an English teacher who has boasted her graduate degree by using the doctor title. Dr. Jill Biden. Remember that? It's Dr. Jill Biden. I said, you know what, Mom? You're an effing moron. Oh my gosh, a vindictive moron. This is a very sick individual. And you do know the drunkest I've ever been is still smarter than you and you ever could be or even comprehend. And you're a shut grammar teacher that wouldn't survive one class in an Ivy League graduate program. So go F yourself. Jill, let's all agree. I don't like you any more than you like me. The deviant political scold and his father has called him the smartest man I know. At one point in 2018, Hunter Biden blasted Jill Biden in a particularly nasty text to his brother's widow. F my stepmom for always being as much of a selfish, silly, entitled C-word as you. God, could you imagine? I know. And she's honestly like, it sounds like she's just being honest with him and saying you need to get help. But to his father, Hunter Biden tried to tamp down the vitriol he directed at Jill Biden. So he says, love you, Dad. It's my fault. Mom is right. I overreacted and she is only worried about me and I promise to try to be more understanding. I love you. Tell Mom I love her and I'm sorry I say mean things. I don't mean them. Yes, these are actual texts. They came from his laptop. So Hunter is a toddler. Yeah. And really, it's really not. I mean, it's honestly not that big of a deal. It is a big deal when you act like that to your family members. This was clearly somebody that needed help. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal to have, you know, to be talking about the private, nasty, like toddler, like disrespectful tweets between people's family members. There was a lot more on that laptop that was really concerning. But it does just kind of give you a peek. What's really fascinating to me is what's fascinating about that to me isn't so much the text messages itself. I could know nothing about Hunter Biden's personal life and the personal life of these family members. I don't care about that. But what's so interesting is that for all these years, you know, whether you liked Trump or didn't like Trump, what he did was he really pulled back the curtain on a lot of things. And this was one of them because look at all the awful things they said about his family and his sons And then it's like you find all of this stuff out about the Hunter Biden family and just how dysfunctional and how corrupt they are. Yet they're the darlings. The media is so nice to them. They can't do anything wrong. And look at what they did to Trump. Like, if this would have happened under him, could you imagine? Could you imagine? And I hate making that connection. I hate saying, imagine if Trump did it. But really, imagine. And, Trump gives them one little thing. Oh, he held a glass weird. But look at the stuff we find out about Biden and his family and the blunders that he makes all the time. And they're just like, that's fine. That's fine. He's so presidential. And all of these people, that's why, what story was I talking about? Oh, we were talking about Tiara Mack, the Rhode Island senator that was twerking in a bathing suit upside down. And all these Democrats were defending it. She's a person. She's allowed to do whatever she wants to do. Okay, then. Don't ever say anything else about Donald Trump. Anyone that's defending any of this Hunter Biden stuff or any of the corruption and the inner dealings with Ukraine and China within the Biden family, okay, if you're going to excuse that, then don't ever say anything about Donald Trump. Ever. If you're going to sweep that under the rug, don't ever say anything about Donald Trump. Now you can't say anything because literally Biden is everything. Biden and his family is everything they accuse Trump of. Have you seen the memes of that twerking idiot? It kills me. Yeah, we showed one, was it last night? Yeah, last night on the live stream, we showed one of the memes, and it was so funny. It was on Tucker Carlson. And he said, guys, we know who demolished the Georgia Guidestones. And it was a picture of Tiara Mack upside down twerking on the Guidestones. And he said that it was, what did he say? Oh, shoot. It was destroyed by twerking. He said that's who actually demolished the Georgia Guidestones, was Tiara Mack and her twerking. It was pretty funny. That was a plot twist by Tucker Carlson. That was pretty funny. James Biden, Joe's brother, is also corrupt. Oh. Thunder twerks. Again? Oh my gosh. You guys, this never ends. So here's another quote by Kamala Harris. What is happening? She says, okay, wait, let me see if we can listen to it. Hold on. Oh, this is so awesome. Okay.
And so there is a lot at stake. We cannot wait for Congress to act. Congress must act. But also we cannot wait for Congress to act, which is why the president...
Did you hear what she said? She said, we cannot wait for Congress to act. Congress must act, but also we cannot wait for Congress to act. Why does she talk like this? Why does she do it? Can Eva twerk? Yeah, she can twerk. She can't really, maybe it's not like twerking, but she can jiggle her belly back and forth. Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Oh no! Wait, did Tucker show Nancy Pelosi's bathing suit? Hold on, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen it. I'm gonna look it up. I'm not gonna show it on here because I don't want to get in trouble, but I'm looking it up. Nancy. I'm looking it up. Tucker had that on his show. Tucker Carlson did show it. That's not bad. I did it. I mean, I've seen worse. Kahlua Harris. Does she drink? Kahlua Harris. Was Nancy twerking? No. It's okay, it's not that bad. I was actually expecting much worse. She is a busty woman. But it's not that bad, I don't think. I was trying to think of how to say it that's appropriate. The passage of time. Oh, let's recite that together. The passage of time. Oops. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm going to recite it for you, and you're gonna like In Nancy's case, we should call it the ravages of time. Yeah, I'm gonna read it. Of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time. I think that every live stream, I should start it out with that quote, just to get us in the right mindset, you know? Almost like a meditation that we do together, or like our Pledge of Allegiance. We'll just say that at the beginning of every single live stream. I think that's a great idea. I'm a genius. It's like centering our chi. You can do an outro video meme like some channels do. What is 80% of Americans? 80% of the US. What is that? Oh, it's a weed killer. Kamala upsets your brain chakra. Oh, wow. This is what Elon said. He said, Twitter has been claiming that it's under 5% of spam accounts, but it's like 4 to 5 times that number. It's a big deal. It's like, I agree to buy your house. You say the house has less than 5% termites, but it turns out it's more like 90% termites. It's not the same house. Wow, that's what Elon said about buying Twitter. Here he is. Oh, no.
This is a big deal. If they in fact have been vociferously claiming less than 5% of fake or spam accounts, but in fact it is 4 or 5 times that number, or perhaps 10 times that number, this is a big deal. It's not this. It seemed like if you said, okay, I agree to buy your house. you say the house has less than 5% termites. That's an acceptable number. But if it turns out it is 90% termites, that's not okay. You know, it's not the same house. This house is made mostly of termites. Termites leave. Literally, your house will disappear because it's mostly made of termites.
That's a good point. Did you hear what he said at the end? He said, okay, if those termites leave, then you're not going to have a house because it's mostly termites. Amber, okay, Elon, what about me? Wow, I was just seeing a tweet. It says the Dutch people support the farmers' protest everywhere, even at concerts. So this is a concert, and they're chanting farmers, farmers, farmers. But I can't get the video to play. All right, you all. Well, I'm going to head off. Thank you so much for joining, everyone that did. That was a lot of fun. I wonder if he really was ever serious about buying Twitter. I feel like he was. I know a lot of people are saying that. I have seen the opinion that some people have that he was. We need Sarah and Eva merch. Maybe I'll design something. I have some ideas. Yes, later, everybody. I've heard the opinion where some people don't think he was ever super serious about buying Twitter. I think he was. I think he really did want to buy it. I stopped following the news a month ago on Twitter. Didn't want to get my hopes up. I think maybe he was trying to expose them. Well, that's the good news, because I think inadvertently he did expose them, which I think is good. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday night, and I'll see you on Monday. All right. Bye. Thank you very much. We win. Okay, bye.